Welcome back to Black Perspective. I'm Linnet Carty, and from the first segment in our discussion on breast cancer is breast cancer survivor and author Pamela DeLeon Lewis. Also joining me for this segment is health and wellness instructor Elizabeth June. Hi, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Pamela, please tell us a little bit about the post-recovery from your mastectomy and some things that you did to help bring you back to being Pamela.
Okay, sure. Well, what happened is after chemo had me so sick, you know, and one of the things, the stages that I went through, you know, you go through a lot of different feelings and emotions when you're dealing with cancer and with chemotherapy and that. And one of the things I felt was helpless. I felt like I had suddenly, you know, lost all control of who I am as a person, and I couldn't seem to find my bearing.
Even though you had lots of family members around you.
I had lots of family support. I had friends supporting me that, you know, called. People were there with me all the time. That was not a problem. Personally, I had a problem at the time with my, like, self-esteem because you've lost your breast and you don't know how to deal with it, you know. I never had much in the first place, but it's still a part of you. You're losing a part of yourself. And I felt helpless, and I had to do something. So what I started doing was I put together this book. I started doing things to sort of help me, and I did sort of, I did a eviction notice. Before I did the eviction notice, I did an order, you know, an order of protection also against cancer. I went to the bathroom. As a matter of fact, I threw a pity party, what I called a pity party, and I toasted my breasts. That was before I lost my breasts. The night
right before the surgery.
Right before the surgery, the night before the mastectomy, I threw a pity party. I did invitation cards, invited my two breasts to it, and I got naked, stood up in the mirror, talked to myself, Gloria and Sylvia, and I named them, yes. And I was
That's right, name
Gloria and Sylvia.
Gloria, and that's Gloria, and that's Sylvia. And I gave them names, and I talked to cancer, which I called DeLeon. And I had my little party. That was my time to feel sorry for myself, to cry, to do all what I had to do. And then after that, I said, no, it's time to get proactive. You want to fight? You got to fight. And I started doing things. I started writing, doing a journal. Every day I'd get up and I'd write what I felt, how I felt, my anger. I put it on paper. And I ended up writing a book, Smiling Through the Tears. It's all about me finding myself, and I would like to, I brought this for you as a gift for us for you.
Thank you. Smiling Through the Tears.
Yes, it's all about the way I've dealt. It's me finding myself and finding how strong I really am. That was my way of dealing and coping with my self-esteem problems, and just the general idea that I'm not the same person who I was the day before. Or, you know, last year, year before that. I'm a different person now, and there's what I call my new normal, my new reality, which I have to deal with. And I had to find a way to cope because it was just about driving me insane. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror anymore. I wouldn't look at myself when I took off my clothes. I turned away from the mirror, as a matter of fact. And then one day I said, no, this is no way to live. This is not the way that I want to exist. You know, I don't just want to exist. I want to be a viable person. And I said, okay, I'm going to smile. I'm going to smile in the face of cancer regardless. And every day I got up, I would get up, and I made it a practice of smiling, looking at comedy, laughing, watching jokes, you know, getting people. I didn't want to speak to anybody who had any doom and gloom messages because I had people who would call me sometimes and, you know, it's going to spread and this is going to happen. I didn't want to hear that. I only wanted positive, and I surrounded myself with positive messages and positive things to do. And I had to feel like I was doing something. So I did my dispossessed and my order of protection and my denouncement. And I set up a online blog called the Cancer Hall of Fame. And I'd go there and I'd write all my feelings, the way I was feeling. And some days it was worse than others. There were some days I got up and I was extremely hopeful. And I just knew that everything was going to be okay. And then 5 seconds later, totally different feeling. But it's something that you have to keep working at. You have to keep, it doesn't come easy.
Well, thank you very much for this book. I will definitely read it. And, you know, it's tremendous to see you here and all that you've been through, and I thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Health and wellness, and how that all plays a part in the recuperation, breast cancer, any sort of cancer. I know that you've lost two very close, your father, your brother, both prostate cancer, another good friend, breast cancer. Tell me about what you do to help bring people back to being whole.
Well, it's so important. First of all, I have to thank Pamela for sharing her story, because it's so important to meet people and talk with people who have gone through this thing. I had to deal with watching my brother actually die from prostate cancer, and so just anything dealing with cancer is very, very close to me. I work with various women. I go to women's shelters. I also work, I am an aerobics instructor, and I teach Pilates, and so I work with women all the time who either have had cancer themselves, have been survivors of it, or they have family members who have been through it, and I show them and I teach them that, listen, this is something that, yes, deals with us physically, but we have to deal with the emotional parts of it too, because it's so very important. We have to deal with getting enough sleep, getting to bed hopefully before midnight, not eating late at night, things like that. We've got to deal with the exercise, the drinking of water, flushing out your system. I try to talk about those things. I am an aerobics instructor at Lucille Roberts, and we have our little Fearless breast cancer band, so I wanted to bring one for you. Because I'm at the Lucille Roberts in Jamaica, Queens. Thank you. And of course, tonight I normally would have been teaching Pilates, but they let me get away. Thank you, ladies. They let me get away to be here tonight, because it's so important that we talk about these things. I also work in women's shelters where we do all kinds of breathing techniques, and we do this kind of like, we make our circle of strength, our circle of love, and we all put our hands in there, and we're telling each other how much we love each other and how much we love ourselves and what we're going to do, and we go around the room and say, okay, what are you going to do this week to help yourself? Physically, mentally, spiritually, you know what I mean? Whatever, emotionally, all of these things. And we literally go around the room and we say, okay, this is the one thing I'm going to do for myself this week to change.
What are some of the things that the women do?
Well, they vow, I don't know how much they keep this vow, but they vow to say, okay, I'm going to try to get to bed this week before 12.
How important is that?
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, if you get enough sleep, but I notice even the doctor said it's important to sleep before midnight, like to go to bed by 10. But why? What if you go to sleep at midnight, but you actually don't wake up till 9 or 10 the next day, so actually you're getting a lot of sleep.
Sleep either. It has to be no more than 6 or 7 hours. It can't be a thing of like sleeping for 10 hours, because then you have other problems as well. It has to be moderation. Any good thing, even sleep, anything too much. Talking about soy earlier in your segment. Anything that is that you overdo it, there has to be temperance. Yeah, there has to be temperance. And you have to know exactly what's right for your body. You know what I mean? Another thing, too, is not eating too late at night, because the body doesn't have time to really digest it properly. So you're going through all these kinds of things. Not to blame diet on women getting cancer, but I really do believe, and even people who are saying, oh, I only eat chicken, I only eat fish, whatever, the waters are contaminated. These fish are eating all these things, and we're putting this into our body. The chicken is contaminated because they're injecting things into chicken nowadays. You know what I mean? It's not like it was back in the day when everything was farm fresh and everything was wholesome. Things have changed. So you really, really have to concentrate on what it is, because if you're putting all these carcinogens into your body, the stuff that they're putting into these animals, you're putting it in you, it's got to come out somewhere. You know what I mean?
So what else does some of the women experience after they've gone through, let's say, your whole session with Pilates?
And
let's talk a little bit about that.
Especially for women of color. A lot of women of color kind of look at Pilates like, oh, that's kind of corny. I don't like all that yoga stuff or whatever. They want to do like, hey, you know, the working out stuff with the music and the bumping, whatever. I said, okay, that's fine. We can have a boot camp class, but then right afterwards we'll have a Pilates kind of as a cool down. We're doing stretches now. We're doing deep breathing exercises. All those things. It's so important. Life begins with the breath. Everything you do has to involve the breath. The very last thing you lose before you leave this earth, the breath. So if you are concentrating, if you're stressed out, that's the first thing they tell you to do. Breathe. That's the most important thing you can do. To relax, to center yourself, to get those emotions and to really get a contact on those emotions. So those are things you have to concentrate. So deep breathing, that's one of the main things in Pilates. And also the scoop. You got to scoop that tummy in, you know what I mean? I know it's like, oh, I don't want to walk around like this all day, but just a gentle scoop, just thinking about it when you're sitting at your job, when you're waiting for the bus. Yes, because the thing is now you're doing deep breathing as opposed to the shallow breathing that you normally do if you're like collapsed. You see what I'm saying? So you're concentrating on your breathing, you're concentrating on that scoop. All those things will help you with your alignment, help to shrink your tummy. You're going to eat less. It's like a little, kind of like the bootleg tummy tuck. You don't have to spend all that money on a tummy tuck. You can do it yourself by squeezing
properly. Your posture is
posture. And you have your little scoop there. That's your little isometric. There you go. Just keep tucking it in, doing your little scoop. keep breathing, and then just try to get become a part of a Pilates class or a yoga class to work on the meditation and also to work on the stretching and toning. All these things will help with your health and wellness.
Did you do a lot of these things?
I did Pilates, I did yoga. As a matter of fact, I have a thing about posture. You know, I always walk around with my stomach held in. It is just natural. And maybe that's why they didn't have enough tummy fat to build me a breast, because I don't have a tummy. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, so to speak. You know, but you have to stay proactive. And that's the whole thing. We tend to lose our minds when we hear we have cancer. You say you have cancer, and immediately you put, you know, you start adoring this thing in a manner of speaking, because everything is cancer. You know, you have to, you know, try to stay emotionally focused. You know, try to get yourself in an area where you know you can handle situation. Like, it's take a deep breath and start thinking. You know, with me, I started an online newsletter called Metamorphosis, which is for cancer survivors. And metamorphosis, as you know, the butterfly goes from one stage to the other. So losing the breast after you've gone through cancer, you're coming out a new person, a different person, a more beautiful person, a little more delicate probably, but a lot more beautiful.
Well, we've only got like 1 minute left in this segment, so very quickly, what are your words to the women at home on what they should do to be proactive?
Get checked. Every single month, do your own check, but then go to the doctor, make sure you're okay, and also drink water, get sleep, get exercise, and breathe.
Pamela?
Yes. Stay proactive, stay strong, stay focused, and know that you can beat cancer. I'm living proof. I'm a survivor.
Thank you both so much. At this time, I'd like to thank both of you, my guests here, breast cancer survivor and author Pamela DeLeon Lewis, and health and wellness instructor Elizabeth Jew. My name is Linnet Carty. Thank you so much for watching, and don't miss the next Black Perspective.